Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the number one college podcast in the world right now, Barry and Vilv. My name is Barry.
This is Vilv, and guys, episode 14. We're finally back in Atlanta, right?
Vilv, I missed you, man. I haven't
Yeah.
seen you in like 3 weeks, bro. You left me, man. You went to a whole different continent, bro.
I had to leave the country, man.
This man got tired of school. He left the continent, man.
They
Look at the
deported
life he's living, man.
They deported me.
No. Oh my goodness. Oh my, I can't take you seriously, man.
No, I'm just kidding. I just went back home for the holidays. We talked about this before. But, now we're back. Unfortunately, not in our studio yet. Our studio is getting some kind of renovated, maintenance, whatever. We're having this, really cheap painting photo and stuff like that.
Hey, it's not cheap. Wait a minute.
It's only $1
Came
million.
from $1 million.
Picasso.
Came from Picasso, man.
Yeah.
Picasso.
But no, I'm just kidding, guys. We'll be back in the studio next week, hopefully. We'll try to have somebody on. So, inshallah, we'll be back in the studio. But, without further ado, Barry, what are we talking about this episode? We're talking about how to make yourself memorable in college to professors. So, basically, how to be a teacher's pet in college. You know what I mean?
Don't put it like that.
Yeah, I don't want to put it like that, but, I know the term teacher's pet is, it's got a negative connotation. Because a lot of people associate it, especially when you're in school, not higher education, they think, it's not a particularly thing to be proud of.
Right.
But I'm going to talk about, it's not something cool, right? So we're going to talk about today about why it might be a very useful thing in college.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because college is a very different ballgame than high school or middle school or anything like that.
Absolutely.
You're very close to actually living life, your own life. So we're going to talk about why it's very important. But before we do that, Barry, do you want to get into the last couple of weeks?
Man, absolutely, man. So as Bill mentioned, these past couple of weeks, and if you all missed it, we connected our episodes virtually because Bill was, back home with his family, and I was here in Atlanta. But in case you all missed it, these past 2 weeks, we had nothing but straight bangers, right? 2 weeks ago, we had the one and only Alaji Berry on, my cousin, one of my best friends studying computer science at Stanford University. Definitely go check that one out if you haven't already. A lot of gems, I would say. A lot of great information he shared with us that day.
Definitely.
And speaking about gems and great information, we had another special guest this past week, right? The one and only Mr. Dipro. He's the only computer science student I know who's also an entrepreneur, who's also a teacher and a philanthropist. Hands down, one and only, man. So if you all haven't checked that one out as well, go check it out because he shared a lot of valuable information as well. But listen, man, as always, man, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give a like on this video if you loved it. Leave a comment below, something you learned or any questions you have. And also follow us on all of our social media platforms. We keep it simple for you. Barry and Vilv across all platforms. Without further ado, Vilv, I'm going to hand it back to you, man.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So, first we'll get into, let's say, how it's possible to make yourself stand out in a class of, let's say, 50, 100, 200 sometimes students in college, especially if you go to public colleges, very big classes. How is it possible to make yourself stand out? How is it possible for your professor to look at you, not differently per se, but look at you in a way that, I remember this kid, even like 10, 20 years down the line. So, we can do the usual stuff like you do in any other lower, like high school or middle school. You can ask a bunch of questions. You can interact in class. And
you can participate in class. You can show up.
The usual stuff that they
the usual.
And you can do that. That's a good way to stand out. But today this is the Barry and Vilv podcast.
We tell you, we go above and beyond, bro.
And we don't
do the general stuff.
No, we don't do the general stuff. These are everything. Everybody knows about this. So today we're going to talk to you about things that we do, or we have done in the past that we have found that most people don't do, and have been very effective for us, in so many different ways. And we'll go into stories about how each of these things have worked out for us. So besides the general things, Barry, what should other people do?
Absolutely, man. Let's get right into it with the first tip that Vilv and I recommend to start off the semester on a great note and to make yourself memorable, right? And first of all, I love talking about these things because it relates directly to marketing. That's like my field of study, man, right? It's the way you market yourself, right? The way you make yourself memorable. That's how teachers are going to remember you, right, for semesters to come. The first thing that I always like to do, right, before even the semester begins, is to email every single one of my professors for that semester in
Every
advance.
single one, man.
Every single one, right? So this semester I'm taking what, like 5 or 6 classes, right? And I emailed every single one of those professors. Normally I would do it like the week before the classes start, but this semester I was slacking a bit, so I did it the morning of, right? So legit 8 a.m. I drafted all of my emails to be sent at 8:30 a.m. right? And in that email, right, I will talk. I'll introduce myself to the professor,
Yeah.
right? Tell him who I am, what I'm majoring in, and what I hope to get out of the class, right?
Right.
And anything else extra that I want to add, I would throw it in there. And this, for me at least, it has shown to like be very, very, very effective. Like I said, I've been doing this since my freshman year. I'll actually share a story with you all. My very first year here at Georgia Tech, right? That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. You've come a long way.
Oh, back in the COVID year, man. Back in the when was that again, man? 2020, man. No, but for real, that was back in fall of 2020, right? I got into Georgia Tech. I think I was taking 4 to 5 classes again. I emailed every single one of my professors. One story that stood out was my performance in my math class. You all probably know by now I'm not a strong math person. I don't have a very strong math background. But that semester, surprisingly, I performed really, really well in that math class, right? And I have to say, I think it's because of this that I did, right? I emailed the professor, right? And also something I want to add, not only emailed the professor ahead of the semester, also email them once the semester is over to just further iterate, how they can remember it. But we're going to talk more about that later on. Vilv.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So before we go into the more details, like, how did you get this idea about like emailing professors? Like, did somebody tell you to do this?
Right. Actually, no. Nobody have told me to do this. This is something that I just just took on by myself. Because again, marketing. I always
natural marketer.
Chill out, man. I always want to find a way to make myself stand out from the crowd, right?
Makes sense,
like knowing that I'll be coming to Georgia Tech, right? And now that I'm an engineer minor, I know that I would have to take some classes that sometimes exceed 100 students in one classroom setting. Sometimes it may even go up to 200 students, right? Now, out of 200 students, more than likely it's only one professor, right? That one professor has to keep track of all these students. I was like, okay, I want to make myself stand out, right? I want to earn a good grade, and I also want to learn the material, right? Now, how should I do that? I have to make myself memorable. And this is the first great step, because not a lot of students email their professors ahead of the semester.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I don't do it now. Now I'm gonna start doing it, man. Like, now you bring up a very, very strong point. But what I do is oftentimes I do email them at the end of the semester, and that personally has worked out very well for me in the sense that it doesn't change anything per se. Obviously, the grade's not going to change or anything like that. But what it's done is it's provided me with a lot of opportunities. Right. So I'll give you an example. For instance, I'm TAing for a class this semester, and I basically got the opportunity by emailing the professor at the end of the semester last fall. So I basically emailed her and I was like, hey, Miss XYZ, can I really enjoyed your class this semester. Are you looking for any TAs for that class? So what happened was, funny enough, she was like, I'm not looking for a TA for this class, but I am teaching another class that I do have TA positions available for if you're interested. And I was like, sure. Absolutely. It's a paid position.
Absolutely. Get the bag, bro.
Get a bag, and it's a good learning experience for me. It's a good resume point being a teaching assistant.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's basically how it works. One thing led to another, and like this great opportunity presented itself.
I also want to piggyback on that, Bill. I want to share like another story. So actually, last year, right, in my second year, after doing that again last fall, I was actually taking this marketing class, right? So I emailed the professor, I think, a week ahead, right? And then on the first day of class, right? Oh, and also I normally sit like on the front row of all of my classes, but on the first day, chill, man, come on, man, chill. No, but for real, like on the first day of class, as soon as the professor walked in, legit, I kid you not, he was like, "Oh, you're Barry, right? You're Bubakar Barry." I'm like, yeah. How do you remember? He was like, "Oh, you're the one that sent me the email, right?" And I kid you not, he legit said that. And on top of that, he said, "What you did was actually a form of marketing." I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" He was like, you was the only person that sent me an email ahead of the semester. So that shows how you marketed yourself.
That's it. Yeah.
So that's another compelling story right there.
Yeah. No, definitely great story right there. I guess we can move on to something else as well. So emailing is it's a very simple thing.
Right.
It's very old school at this point. It's
but
been
very
around,
effective.
Very effective.
Very effective.
Surprisingly very effective.
Right.
So the next thing that I often find myself doing, or I've seen you do, is attend a bunch of office hours.
Oh, absolutely.
So
man. I could talk a lot about that, man. In fact, I want to give like another story. Going back to that math class, right?
Yeah.
So this is again fall of 2020. For those of you who forgot, that was the COVID year, right? And so again, I realized I don't have a strong background in math, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take as many opportunities as I can to grow and to hopefully earn a really good grade in the class, right? And it just worked out perfectly because it was COVID. People were all virtual in their homes, right? Not a lot of people took advantage of the professor's office hours. Oh, that was not me. No. I went to every last one of them. If not every last one of them, I would say a good 98, 99% of all the office hours, I was there, right?
That's more than me, man.
And a lot of them, I kid you not, I was the only student present, right? That just goes to, and that further like enhances, that one-to-one connection with your professor. If the professor sees that you are persistent, you are really determined to grow in the class, and so towards the end, that professor could easily help you out with maybe like extra credits or maybe like curving grades and final. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And what do you talk about in these office hours, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be even content from the class.
Oh, absolutely.
From my experience at least, it does. A lot of the times I find myself, I go in maybe to talk about contents about the class, maybe about an assignment or a project or whatever, maybe. But then, we kind of drift into like other topics. Oh, professor, what kind of research are you into?
Exactly.
This professor, I know you're from business school.
Right.
A lot of these professors have like side hustles, not side hustles per se, even like proper businesses.
The proper companies
they're involved with, like, and what kind of company professor are you involved with? What do you guys do? So, and you'll find it very surprising that these people actually, these professors and teachers and instructors really love to talk about these kind of experiences they've had, and they'll go into detail about what kind of research they're doing, what impact it has, what's their company like, when did they start their company, how did they start their company. It's very invaluable, like very, very valuable knowledge that you can't really get from just attending the course per se.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't. And you won't find this information in the course description.
Oh,
they won't tell you. Oh, go to office hours. This professor has
of course not. Yeah, no, Bill, you hit it spot on there. Which actually leads to our next point, right? Yeah. Our next tip to marketing yourself and making yourself memorable, right? Is explore interest in the professor's work or outside activities, right? You mentioned like a great thing there, like your professor does research, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps just by you exploring that interest, right? Just by you like asking that question or reading up on their background, perhaps that may present you a future opportunity. Maybe that professor might want to pick you up to be like a research assistant one day to help her with her research. That's another opportunity which could lead to something else, right?
Absolutely.
Going back to the professor that you mentioned, so this semester I'm taking a class called digital marketing, right? Of course, marketing, of course, you know what I mean? But I freaking love the professor, right? The professor has, like Bill mentioned, like a lot of other activities. I think he owns probably like 5 or 6 companies, right? That are like legit companies generating a lot of revenue. Outside of being a professor, he's actually also an entrepreneur, right? And given my background and my interest, that's something that I want to do.
Exactly.
I want to be an entrepreneur, right? I want to be like well off after I graduate. So why don't I tap in with the professor who's actually, doing that right now, right? And who knows? Perhaps this might lead me to another opportunity. Perhaps an opportunity about interning at his company, or maybe him giving me personal advice to entrepreneurship or business building, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you guys got to remember. And I guess this is where the distinction comes in between high school and like middle school and like and upper like college and like upper education.
Right.
Where these professors aren't just some like low wage teachers. With all due respect to our teachers, that they should be paid more.
Absolutely.
these professors just aren't there to earn a salary. A lot of them are involved in the university research, especially here, for instance, in Georgia Tech. They're doing groundbreaking research,
Absolutely.
top in the country, top in the world, and sometimes
one of the best universities for research in the world.
Yeah, so they're involved in all sorts of technology-based research, all sorts of science, STEM, business-related research. And a lot of them have their own companies. A lot of them have their own laboratories. Like I know professors that have their own laboratories working with a lot of external companies, partnering with a lot of industry giants, if you will.
Absolutely.
And it's so interesting picking their brain because they've been in the industry. Most of them have been in the industry for decades.
Exactly.
Decades, either as employees or as actually contributing to the industry on a first-hand basis, as an owner of a company, as an owner of a laboratory, as a researcher.
Absolutely.
So it's very important to actually connect with these people because you'll gain a lot of wisdom.
Absolutely.
A lot of wisdom you can't really gain from a YouTube video or from the course material like that.
Absolutely.
So I think this is the distinction, between being a teacher's pet in college and a teacher's pet in high school or middle school is that a teacher's pet in college is a very valuable thing because you're going to be creating connections. You're creating connections with people who know other people who are very important in the industry.
Exactly. Which leads to two things, like you said, wisdom and opportunity.
Exactly.
As a college student, one of your main goals, sure, academics is all cool, but I stress this a lot, I personally think you shouldn't just come to school just to learn something from a book.
No.
All right. Yes, the knowledge side is good, but at the same time, the connections that you gain and the opportunities is equal, but if not greater.
Yeah, trust me, guys. Like connections are so important. Like this is something I've come to realize as well. Like
connections.
Like the connections. No, honestly, is the most important thing in the world. If you know people that are, especially the right type of people,
there you go,
that are capable of doing certain things, you will go very far in life.
Very far.
Like I'm saying, you'll be able to do things that aren't technically possible. I've seen this with even with my own parents. They're able to do a lot. They know a lot of people, and a lot of people. For instance,
I don't know a lot of people now.
I'll share a personal story with I met with a certain personnel here at Georgia Tech. I won't reveal their identity like that, but I was looking for this scholarship opportunity, and about this, and I wasn't exactly sure how to approach it, and I wasn't exactly sure what to do with it. And meeting with this certain personality, this person here, really boosted my chances. I ended up actually getting this scholarship opportunity.
So happy.
Just a couple meetings with this person, and then again follow-up email. Thank you so much for your help, all that. And this person, very influential person here at Georgia Tech. Now, this person will remember who I am, so that in future, if I don't know if she will ever need me or he will ever need me, but if I ever need them again, I'll be able to reach out and be like, "Hey, XYZ, can you help me with this matter?" And this is me coming from like a personal story that's really benefited me in a financial way, like a proper way. Like I'm not messing around. We're not messing around.
We're not messing around here, man. So we have no need to mess around here. Right?
So the best connections. Yes, it's important to connect with your peers and all that stuff, seniors, people who've graduated.
But the right people take you far.
Yeah, the professors. Trust me, these people know a lot of things. I've seen these people know a lot of things. So it'll definitely take you far into the industry.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, I'll just put in another thing that I notice is a way I find myself often differentiating myself is by involving in, for the lack of better word, small talk. So
small talk.
What that means is the things that aren't even related to anything we're doing. It's certain things. Like for instance, I found myself the other day. I was talking to a professor I'm taking a class in, and this professor was a Muslim. Surprisingly enough, there's not a lot of Muslim professors at Georgia Tech. So
I wish I had a Muslim.
Yeah, very intelligent person. And I just went up to that person and I just said, "Assalamu alaikum," and they started talking, and they said, "Wa alaikum salam."
Wow.
It's just a small thing, guys. It's a very, very small thing. But that person's, when they heard me say "Assalamu alaikum," because nobody says that, right?
There's a commonality between you.
Yeah, because there's 50 students there, and I might be the only Muslim student in class.
Exactly.
And me going up and saying that, it's just differentiated me. And he or she just, they gave a smile, and I knew that, they realized something. There was a connection between us.
Yeah.
That they didn't have with somebody else in the classroom, a different type of connection.
Exactly.
And so try to find commonalities like that, right? That would that would really connect you with somebody else. Oftentimes professors, you will find that they'll have certain life experiences. For
Mm.
instance, they might be from the same town as you. It doesn't even have to be religion. They might be from the same neighborhood in the same town. You'd be like, hey, I'm from that part of New York or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Then start conversation. They'll always remember, oh, that's the guy from Bronx. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's the kid from Bronx. That's the kid that grew up like 2 blocks away from me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely,
So,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Wow, that was a very jam-packed session. I guess to recap, right?
Yeah.
So today on the Barry and Vilv episode, like we talked to you about, different things outside of the norm, outside of the general that everybody else does, right? Things that you can start doing today that will set you up from the competition from your other classmates, right?
Exactly.
The first thing that we spoke about was like emailing your professors well in advance before the semester begins, and on top of that, when the semester ends as well,
Yep.
right? That's the first thing. The second thing that we spoke about is like exploring the, like expressing interest in their work
Mhm.
and their outside involvements, right? For example, if your professor is involved in research, just show that you're interested in that, right? Because that could take you to a different
That
opportunity,
could
right?
be your gateway into something greater.
Gateway into something great. Exactly, right? The third thing that we spoke about is like attending the office hours,
Yeah.
right? Because again, that would distinguish you from many students. You'll be surprised. Not everybody from your class will attend office hours,
Yeah.
right? That's just a fact, right? So
yeah, but
so-
it's because like most, especially with engineering students, I'm
Right.
saying this because we are not really taught to communicate like that. So a lot of people they think about officers. They're like, oh, I'll just go if I have an issue with an
Right, right,
assignment
right.
or whatever.
Right.
But no, use this as an opportunity to connect,
Exactly.
not only with professors but with TAs, with
TAs, exactly.
like make connections. Additional connections. That's definitely something that's benefited.
No,
me.
absolutely.
I think that's
absolutely.
definitely something that a lot of engineering students, very smart people, but
Right.
like they'll lag because they don't have the kind of that kind of social skill. They don't have that kind of thinking.
No,
They're like,
absolutely,
this
absolutely.
is an opportunity I can actually meet someone.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then the last tip, of course, is like exploring commonalities between you and a professor or you or someone else that teaches the course, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, in Bill's case, like noticing that the professor is the same identity as him and just giving that small talk, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this right here, guys, we promise you is going to set you apart from the rest of your classmates, and
Yeah.
this is going to
Just
make you
try it and
memorable.
test it, guys.
Try it and test it, and then come back and leave a comment on this
Absolutely.
video
Absolutely.
on how you found it to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
A lot of times, like I'll just throw in this right away. We only talked about like research industry. A lot of times, for higher education, for instance, I want to pursue master's education, graduate school.
Right.
You need a recommendation to apply to grad school.
Exactly.
These professors are the people who are going to give you that recommendation. So
Exactly.
if you have that connection with them, it'll come in very handy.
Exactly.
It'll come in very handy for you. So
Exactly.
they might offer you a TA position, which will allow you to pay for grad school. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why it's very important to actually be a teacher's pet in college. In many ways.
And the key here is just by doing these things, yes, it makes you memorable, but also like it provides you so many opportunities that you otherwise could not have gotten if you didn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So definitely give it a try, right? And then come back in this video and let us know if it worked out or not.
If it didn't work out, then,
right?
yeah.
Because if it doesn't work out, you lose nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, or you lost 5 minutes of your day writing an email.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's not a big loss. The business side here, right? Like the return and what you get out of it, far exceeds what you put in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in this week. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Absolutely. And once again, please subscribe to this channel and follow us on all of our social media channels.
Leave a like down below.
Yes, sir. And with that being said, Barry and Vilv, signing out.